One of these makes it work. What's up, everybody? It's Keefe at GhostCultMan.com. Happy May the 4th be with you and all that jazz. I'm just jumping on with a Monday night live stream to talk some Metallica. Morgan is here. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Safaris86 is here. I just thought there was some very interesting news today in the world of Metallica, and I should come on and talk about it with all of you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for passing by. In case you're brand new here, Ghost Cult is your one-stop shop, your 24/7, 365 rock and metal news source. We do music reviews and interviews with bands you care about. We cover festivals and shows all over the world. So we'll talk about the Jason news in 1 second. I made a little deck here with a little photo I have permission to use of Jason, or Jason Newsted, as we used to call him when he was in Metallica. The minutiae first, always, just really quick. We ran a brand new interview today with the guys from Cryptic Shift, great technical death metal band. Their new album, Outer Space and Inner Worlds, is out now. It's good that I can't remember these things. Rip Van Ripper's here. What's up? What's up? So, yeah, I just wanted to jump on. I saw this really great new interview with Jason. Obviously, there was some news late last week that he had battled cancer and just got like the all clear a year later, which, he's been a very private person, whether he was in Metallica or not. He's always been a very private dude. So, understandable and respectfully there. And then also, Glacial Musical Podcast is back. Last week we did a post-mortem on Record Store Day. I don't know how I feel about Record Store Day anymore, as it continues to be worse and worse for the record stores and not great for the record-buying public. But we're back this week with another AC/DC episode on Glacial Musical. Stay tuned for that. We got more interviews coming this week. My live stream is always on around Thursday. I missed it last week, just could not get it together to do one. Again, May the 4th be with you. It is Star Wars Day, so I have some of my Star Wars Funkos right behind me there. Just a few of my collection. And again, as usual, the tip menu, even though we do have some advertising that runs through the site and we do get some money from affiliate deals and things, we are still a DIY enterprise, just like you with your bands. What's up, Hales? Gabe is here from Anti Moz Beast. Appreciate you being Metal Liquor. Word. Metallica. I'll say first and foremost, I am a huge Metallica fan, and I always will be. I love their music. They've made a lot of mistakes, like every band. And, there will never be another Metallica, just like there was never really another Led Zeppelin. Barbie is here. No One You Know is here. Ken has passed by. What up, Ken? John Candy is here. John Candy. I get that joke. I understood that reference. So let's talk. Jason was a guest, and there's our Cash App if you want. So Jason was a guest on the Let There Be Talk podcast. That's Dean Del Rey and his podcast. Dean Del Rey is a Bay Area native. He grew up here. He was in the scene when Metallica started. He was around for many, many legendary shows and events and Day on the Green. And he's a huge rock and metal fan. He flies the flag hella high for bands like AC/DC and Metallica, to be remembered as some of the greats of all time to ever do it. And he's a stand-up comedian. He tours the country. He's open for Metallica. They like him. He's their friend. He's done a really great interview podcast that you should check out, Let There Be Talk. And I'm a fan. I think for a person that wasn't raised as a journalist, he's a really great example of you can become a podcaster and really build a great following, and also really really cultivate great questions. Even though he's a comedian, he doesn't try to be jokey and funny. Occasionally he is very funny with the guests, but here's a lesson for you, Billy Corgan and other people. Just because you have a name doesn't mean you should have a podcast. I do like Billy. I think his podcast's a little much, but I still want to listen to the Courtney and Billy one, but I know I'm going to have like all bad feelings after. But so Newsted and Dean Del Rey are friends. Jason has been on his podcast many times. And what's super interesting is I think they have a rapport. I'm jealous. I would love to interview Jason, and I would love to have a rapport with Jason Newsted the same way Dean does, where Jason felt comfortable coming on his show and talking openly and candidly about things, not, no need to like hold back, right? And not need to worry about like, oh, this is going to come out bad later. I better watch my shit. Like, no, he just absolutely was himself 100%. And so, first and foremost, all respect. And one of the things Dean said is a lot of people ask him, they're like, this guy comes on, does, not that many interviews, but when he goes on interviews, he never trashes Metallica. Whatever he talks about is, in his opinion, fact based, history based, his experiences, and what happened to him. And he never dogs them. It's part of his legacy. Like Jason is responsible for 40 or 50 million of the 150 or 60 million records Metallica sold. Played on the Black Album, took over from Cliff after a difficult time, in a lot of ways, when a lot of fans gave up on them, even with the Black Album, Jason was still like respected by hardcore fans, and he kept he helped keep their integrity. So first and foremost, like this isn't, I don't, other than maybe a catchy title, which is going to be facts, that Jason spit on this. I think it's important, like there's no drama, but he definitely dropped some bombs on Metallica history. And to me, I just thought this was super interesting because maybe we've had it all wrong for a long time based on what he just said. So I think it's important to talk about. And so first and foremost, Jason is healthy. So that's number one. He got a tumor. Apparently, this is one of the fastest growing types of cancers among men, is this tumors on the tongue and the back of the tonsils and the throat, because of HSV1. And, listen, like, the virus that causes, HSV and herpes and all the different things is prevalent throughout the human race. If you got kissed as a baby on the mouth by a relative, you might have got it. It doesn't mean you have herpes, but it does mean that you're a carrier of HSV. And apparent, like women, obviously, there's been awareness and tests and things about this nature for decades. But for men, it's just less noticeable or catchable, and a lot of men are just carriers and contagion havers, I guess. And then stress or things in your life aggravate it. So apparently, Newsted listed Mike Ness of Social D, Dave Mustaine's throat cancer, and Bruce Dickinson's tongue cancer were all related to this. So he has the same thing they had. Andy Pelletier is here. What's up, Loonworks? Maggie, a lot of people passing by on the TikTok. Kristen Cantero 509 is here. What up, what up? So really surprising. So he was diagnosed, he had a lump in his neck, something I have some experience with from personal experience, not me myself, but family relations with neck tumors. And his wife noticed it, like, hey, what's that going on with your neck? You have a huge lump there. And they found out what it was. And they went in, basically they went in one side of his throat and operated. And then they went in on the other side and lasered the rest of it out. So like really, apparently very common surgery, but very delicate. And hey, my fiance is here, Melissa. I'm just talking about Jason Newsted's cancer diagnosis, and now he's in the all clear. A year later, he just got his 1 year, way to go, you're good. But, very scary. He's a little older than me, maybe, like less than 10 years older than me, and he had this. Now, I didn't smoke, but he also, made some drastic changes in his life the last few years anyway. And so he got the all clear. And, that came up very casually in the conversation with Dean Delray. Really great podcast. Again, Dean is amazing. I'd love to meet Dean. He lives in the Bay Area still. I'd love to interview him for this show. I would love to interview Jason, of course. So we'll see if we can get to cover him. He's about to go on tour with the Chop House Band, which is his band that goes all the way back to the early 90s when he had a studio and a record label called the Chop House and the Chop House Band and Chop House Records. And he's always had different incarnations of this thing. Battle Creek, Michigan, where he's from, the Bay Area, Florida, where he lived for a long time, and now upstate New York, where he lives. And he did this interview from his home, where he has an art and a painting and music studio in the same room. Wonderful. Go check it out. He talks about some of his stuff. And So that was number one. He had cancer. We didn't know about it till the last few days. We know all about it now, and he's in the free and clear area. So, just absolutely grateful. We're losing so many of our rock heroes and rock soldiers, and I just don't want to lose any more. And he's a relatively young guy. So they caught it and he beat it. Wonderful. That's the number one. That's the headline. Like, Jason is cancer free, and that's great because he had cancer and he didn't tell anybody. He was very private about it. He made a comment that, like, the shape of his cranium is different now, like inside, but outside he's fine. And I couldn't see any visible scarring. He had like a little chin strap beard, a little fuzz, and you couldn't really tell if he had like major surgery on both sides of his body. You definitely didn't see it. And apparently his soft palate is not fully recovered in terms of food tastes and things, and certain things he can't have vinegar, or he can't have very carbonated beverages, or certain things he can't have them at all because it just overwhelms him. But his complex palate is still good. So certain herbs and certain cooking and certain genres of food are all good for him. So just very interesting stuff. And again, men, get yourself checked out. Again, this is like a silent killer of men, along with high blood pressure and heart attacks. I had another recent interview with an artist who's just a little bit older than me, who had a massive heart attack just a few years ago. And I was like, wow. And it was a real wake-up call. Rubber Band Man is here. What up, Adam? Good to see you. I owe you some more emails, pal. So just talking about Metallica and Jason Newsted and this interview he did with Dean Del Rey on Let There Be Talk, and I'll link it in the description after I'm done here. But the real thing, beside the fact, hey, Jason is cancer-free, and that's amazing. The real thing, beside Jason coming on tour soon with the Chop House Band, is that he shed new light on his exit from Metallica. Now, if you're out there, I'm going to do my best. I'm giving you secondhand information. I watched this interview twice. It's over an hour long, hour and a half each time. I watched it today while I did some work here. And that is good, Gabe. I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, man, we don't want to lose anybody else, man. We've already had some terrible losses this year, and I'm beyond sad about some of them. So Jason talks about his exit from Metallica. And honestly, again, if you think I have this wrong, jump in the comments and tell me. I am a huge Metallica fan. They are one of my favorite bands ever. Even though they've made terrible mistakes, I still love them. Their music holds up for me. I still have a tremendous connection to this music and that band. There will never really be another Metallica. But Jason talks about his exit from the band, and from whatever, about, the infamous Rolling Stone interview around right after I Disappear and all of that hit, and Napster and everything. And Jason talked about wanting to do other music, like Echo Brain and this, that, and the other thing. And talked to, like, we know from watching Some Kind of Monster, the band did not want to let him do this, and made it sound like he chose to leave Metallica because of Echo Brain and other musical projects he wanted to do. That's not true, according to what I saw in this interview. He set the record straight. It's partly true. He was doing other projects. He did want to do Echo Brain. He was very passionate about it. And really the problem was that after, 17 years, 16 years in Metallica, he wanted to take a year off because he was terribly addicted to opioids. The whole time, James is also addicted to opioids and alcohol. They were all doing drugs, cocaine, opioids, alcohol, alcoholic, all of that, different varying, paces and degrees. Some people were managing their habits better than others. I'd really be interested to see if Lars ever writes a book, a memoir, and is a very tell-all thing, or is he going to just curate the story of Lars? It'd be very interesting to see. But, we always got the feeling, we were told because of Some Kind of Monster. Now, I've never seen Some Kind of Monster all the way through, but I've seen most of it over time in bits and pieces and clips. I really don't want to sit there and watch Dave Mustaine cry and have a therapy session with Lars about how they hurt his feelings. But I've seen most of it. And it makes Jason seem like, he doesn't want to be in the band anymore. F him. He's choosing this other thing instead of us. And that's not the case, according to this interview that I saw today. He was saying, I had an opioid addiction and I wanted to take a year off from the band to go to rehab and get my health and mind together so we could come back and be Metallica. And he's like, I would have thought for the band that I sacrificed all my things for, lost a marriage, toured the world, we're brothers, we're the bros, all these things, we're boys. I would have thought they would have given me some grace and said, hey, you know what? Jason wants to take some time off from the band. The record that became Saint Anger can wait a year so they didn't get better the way it was when it came out. And, we'll wait for Jason. They didn't give him that opportunity. And I know you could say, well, Jason's not as important as James. James is the co-founder of the band. He's literally the main songwriter. He's the vocalist. They can't exist without him. You could obviously replace Jason, but there's no replacing James, right? Fair enough. But it seems very backwards to me that right after Jason quits the band and they decide to keep going with Bob Rock on bass for the album and eventually audition new bassists to come on tour, they didn't give Jason that same grace. And it really turns out to be James is the reason. James and Lars did not want to stop the Metallica train. Now, I think back then, maybe there was this idea, the record industry is changing. If we don't constantly are not out in the public eye, we're gone. And I think today, with as big as social media has become and media in general and the internet and all these things, Metallica is going back on tour in a couple of weeks, and there's never a day when there isn't a Metallica something you could discover that you never saw before. And that's me as a huge fan. So, it really struck me as weird that they would not let him take time off. And then the Echo Brain thing was like the last straw. And again, it feels to me like they painted it as kind of Lars and Metallica Inc. versus Jason. But I'm going to be honest with you, and this has been talked about before, it was 100% James. James was the one who was incensed about Echo Brain. And he was like, Kirk is on other albums. James is on other albums. He was all over a couple of COC albums. Kirk played with Godflesh on a record and Spawn soundtrack and things like that. Why can't Jason have another band and have another project? And the management, Q Prime, who is one of the greatest management groups in the world, who still to this day are involved with managing Metallica, they told Jason, hey, we love Echo Brain and we're going to work with you. We're going to get you all the support you need to make this a huge hit thing. And James came in and said, absolutely not, no. And then they had to come back to Jason and say, we can't work on the record because James said no. That's insane to me. That's why he left the band. I need time off. I'm having health problems. Oh, sorry, buddy. I'm just talking about Jason's, you can watch the replay. I'm just talking about Jason, or listen to this when it's on the Ghost Cult Magazine podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. But one, he had major addiction problems. And they didn't give him the same grace they were ready to give James. And James had, already been in rehab multiple times in his life, including right after S&M 2, more recently. Boxing Gospels. He's a huge scar across his neck. Yeah, I couldn't quite tell from this interview, Boxing Gospel, but I appreciate you. Thank you for coming in and mentioning it. In the video I saw, the lighting's not great. All of y'all out there that do, if you're a celebrity or a famous musician or whatever, just invest a little time and money into your studio. Get yourself a key light, get yourself some fun lighting, and get yourself a good camera instead of your laptop's webcam. That sucks. But, yeah, man, I'm just baffled by this, that they, first and foremost, he wanted to take time off, not because of Echo Brain. He wanted to take time off because he was suffering from opioid addiction, because he'd been using it to manage his pain in his neck and back for years, and it went sideways for him. It went really bad. And then he quits, and they use Echo Brain, what I feel as an excuse. And then James goes into rehab, and it's like, okay, well, we'll wait for James to come back out to finish the album. Lars and his, he just left and all of that bullshit. That's all performative. And I think this notion, listen, man, I'm a Lars defender. Day one, Lars lover and defender. There is no Metallica without Lars Ulrich. Lars is one of the greatest musicians ever. He's one of the greatest drummers ever. Not anymore, but he was initially. Does James take time off to go bear hunting? Yeah, he does a lot of shit that's very whatever. I mean, I don't have to like everybody's lifestyle that makes the music. My dork style is not determine my lifestyle or my music style, to paraphrase a terrible lyric from Saint Anger. But, whatever he chooses to do is his personal business. But the fact that they didn't give Jason any grace, and then the Echo Brain thing was actually not the reason. It was the last straw for him. It was the last straw for him, the way they acted. you know. And then Lars saying a little later on in some different interviews, like, well, you know, Jason had to get sacrificed. He was never really accepted into the band 100% by us, and this, that, the other thing. And he had to suffer so we could become the band we are now, which is like the band he wanted to be in, is the band they have with Robert now and Kirk now. And maybe that's all true, but I think that's a lot of lip service Lars likes to pay to himself. But I'm really, you know, it's not going to make me less of a fan, but I absolutely am shocked. And, you know, James, of all people, in the thick of his throes of addiction and alcoholism and going to meetings and trying to stay sober and in and out of rehab and his marriage getting wrecked and being an absentee father, which he's done a whole documentary, part of a documentary about being an absentee dad to his children. He didn't see Jason as his brother and be sympathetic. You know, drug addiction's an illness. The choice is yours the very first time you take a drug, most people. But most of us have an addictive personality, myself included. So, you know, I think the lack of empathy and understanding is mind-blowing for me from James. And I'm just kind of really shocked. They're lucky dude lived and was big enough to ask for help. So many bands just have people die. They let people die. Dude, when that Alan Niven book finally comes out, because GNR is suing him to not let it out, you can check out my interview on YouTube and our podcast where I interviewed the former Guns N' Roses manager. There's like a million examples where people brought, not even people he managed, just like, oh, Nikki Sixx is overdosing, please help him, like he's about to die, he's blue. Like, Alan saved dozens of people from the brink of death. No small amount of Axl, Slash, Izzy, Duff, Steven Adler, Matt Sorum, Gilby Clarke, every one of them, Dizzy Reed, they were all strung out in his house, and he helped them all. And he was sympathetic to all of them, even when Axl was horrible to him and made his life a living nightmare as the manager of Guns N' Roses. He still showed compassion and love. And I'm shocked that James today, who is like my program and my faith in God and my family and my new wife and whatever, my fiance, all these things keep me whole and keep me excited to do Metallica. And they treated Jason like dog shit, bro. And I'm so sad, but was still like, you know, I'm just keep telling it like it is. I quit because I was hooked on drugs and I needed to go home. And they didn't want to take time off. So they're like, see ya. And they used Echo Brain. It sounds like to me as an excuse, him wanting to do that as an excuse for him to leave and then be part ways. And I get it. He said, hey, listen, me leaving Metallica was for the best. Everybody thrived. They're killing it still to this day. I'm very proud of them. I'm proud of everything we did together. I have no ill will with them. We go get, you know, we could go get dinner or whatever. But like, wow, man, wow. It's not so much Lars as it was James. And it really was a complete lack of, even their management is complicit to me, that they were like, we'll let Jason go, but James will cocoon around and swaddle him and get him through his worst time. And I just can't believe they couldn't, with all the money in the world in 2001 Metallica, they couldn't afford that to Newsted. And that hurts me, man. And I love the band, and I will always love the band, but that hurts me. And the more I find out about them, the ticket thing with the Sphere, and again with Connecticut, it's just going to be unaffordable to ever see them ever again, probably. And I think this is probably the last few years of the band anyway, because honestly, I just don't think they can continue even to do 40 or 50 shows a year. It just doesn't seem sensible to me that they will into their late 60s. They're almost all in their mid 60s now, except Rob. And I like the idea that Iron Maiden is doing that Iron Maiden Fest or Iron Maiden fan event or whatever, where they're going to do like a convention once a year and then play there and play a whole weekend of shows, just 3. And that would be enough maybe. And then they'll, you know, ride that out until they don't want to ride it anymore. But it just saddens me, man. They should have treated that guy a lot better. He deserved better. He was wonderful. He's an amazing person. He's an amazing talent. And they did not appreciate him when he was there. And I'm glad he's alive. And I'm glad he beat cancer. And this is not like, he's not up here mad about it. I'm mad for him. So maybe I'm the one with the problem. Certainly not him. He's happy and comfortable where he's at. Anyway, you know, again, Jason Newsted, the Black Album, this guy that kept their flag flying, they kept their integrity going. They couldn't support and love him enough after like 15, 16 years in the band. You know, Jason's got these tour dates coming up with Jason Newsted and the Chop House Band. He's got a string of dates, as well as a long stretch of opening for Blackberry Smoke on their next tour. So that is coming up in July. So he's promoting it now. There will probably be some more podcasts with Newsted and new interviews. I'd love to get to talk to him. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'm super stoked. And that's all I've got for today. If you come across this, if you're watching this and you think I got it wrong, jump in the comments and tell me. If you think that Jason needed to get out of Metallica and it was good for him, good. But like, I think they treated him, it's worse now. I feel like it's worse now than what I thought before. So if you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, drop a comment. I'm gonna go run and sing some karaoke, and then come back home and do some more stuff for Ghost Cult. But thanks for watching. We'll be back with some more stuff tomorrow. I hit the nail on the head. Thanks. Hey, Stormland is here. I didn't see you there, buddy. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Yeah, man, it's just so much worse than I thought it was. That's my main surprise. I'm just surprised and hurt about how worse it is than I thought it was. Just when it was just like, oh, it's some kind of monster and he wanted to do Echo Brain and we were fracturing as a band. No, man, they treated him terribly. He had a terrible drug addiction and he needed a break. And they wouldn't give it to him. And then they gave that grace to James many, many more times. Not that they shouldn't have. Of course they should have. He's an icon. He co-founded the band, and you need to rally around that guy. But why didn't they show that care and love to Jason either? So sad. But anyway, I'm Keefe from Ghost Cult. Check us out at ghostcultman.com. Do all the things. It helps us. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Metallica.